A short week for the Fins means a short episode of Dolphins HQ Extra from the Baptist Health Studios. And what a Week 10 win it was on Monday Night Football over the Los Angeles Rams. Let's go ahead and dive right into the tape. When the Dolphins offense had to have it on Monday, they got it. Started with this third down here. Completion to Jonnu Smith for 33 yards down to the 1 yard line. And before we get into the actual play itself, I want to kind of decipher some coverage for you guys here because the Rams do a good job disguising what ultimately is going to turn into cover two. Actually Tampa 2, because this linebacker winds up running the pipe right here. But it kind of looks like they're going to start off here in cover one man free, which is a single high safety, taking the whole middle portion of the field with man coverage across the board. But you have one indicator right here that it's not, because pressed up, off coverage. And you're going to watch the way this rotates at the snap. And it's going to give us exactly what we're talking about here with the two coverage, because this cornerback sinks, he gets width this way, and Roseboom, the linebacker making all kinds of plays in the game, winds up running the pipe right here as your Tampa 2 linebacker, and you get this defender out here in the curl flat area. So what Tua's looking at right here is trying to decipher the coverage, and you're going to see him work the front side of this coverage, and because this linebacker, who all night long, Roseboom was turning his back to one side of the formation, that's actually what he did on the interception play as well, where he was able to kind of bluff Tua into a window that wasn't there, and Tua threw it kind of right to him. But on this play, he's going to get depth vertically, chasing the number 3 receiver down the seam right here, which is Julian Hill, who does a good job maximizing this route to try to pull this coverage out and create this vacancy here in the hook zone to Jonnu Smith. And then Tua is just right on time with the football. Jonnu gets outside leverage against a linebacker right there. We love that matchup. It's going to be a clear first down right here. So good decision, good route, good throw. And then from there, it's all about Jonnu Smith just making a play. And I want you to watch a few things right here. Number one, watch Jonnu Smith break tackles from 2 Rams, and the 5 closest people on the screen are all Rams defenders. But I want you to watch the reaction of the Dolphins players after he breaks this tackle. Oh, we're going to go hit a block. Block there. Waddle wants to get a piece. Here comes the offensive line from the back coming downfield. And then my next favorite part is the way they react right here. Watch the reaction of all the players. They think he scored. We all go. Arms in the air, we're all jumping and celebrating. And speaking of celebration, take a look down here on the sideline. This is tight ends coach John Embry, who sees his boy rolling downfield, running over tacklers, breaks that one. He's going to go try to get a celebration in the end zone with his guy. Doesn't quite score the touchdown from the backside there, but he gets down to the 1 yard line. And let's go ahead and go to maybe the biggest conversion of the entire night. 5.5 minutes left, 3rd and 6. A return route to Odell Beckham Jr. for a big, I think it was 11-yard gain for a first down right here. And the first thing I want to look at is, once again, here comes the Rams showing pressure. They're going to sim pressure this thing as this mugged-up backer right here in the B gap actually backs out. So they bring 4 rushers, but I want you to watch Jared Verse right here on Teron Armstead. One of Teron Armstead's best traits is the way he shortens a wide 9 technique. This technique out here where you're really wide of the offensive line is called the wide 9. He's really good at going and setting this track short and shortening the runway for the pass rusher, but Verse is so dang good that he cross steps and gets inside of it. And I have to imagine that Tua and Armstead had this conversation about this particular play and how he was going to short set Jared Verse, because once Verse slants inside, Tua now knows that, again, because we're in this coverage where they're not going to, cover the curl flat area down here, he can get width and escape this rush, and he's able to recognize the inside slant, and then he moves this way, and Teron does a good job of getting enough in the way to keep Verse inside to allow Tua to move and change his launch point for this throw. And then we're going to go ahead and take a look at the route concept right here. You're going to get a corner, a flag, and a little return route. And it's going to be the Dolphins' top 3 receivers, Odell, Waddle, and Tyreek. You're going to get Waddle as the point man taking the post. Reek's going to run the little sail route here on the corner, and then here comes the return route for Odell Beckham. And you watch every tape the Dolphins have offensively. Teams are so concerned about the speed of Waddle and Reek. They're going to play 2 and 3 high coverages and try to wall off these deep crossers, and that's going to leave these vacancies in the short area of the passing game, which is where Tua has gone to guys like Beckham, to Jonnu Smith, to Achane, to Mostert, and been so effective since he came back from his injury back in Week 8. And on this little return route here, Beckham's going to wind up kind of creating after the fact because Tua is off of his spot. And he sees Tua moving, and Tua knows he has, all this leverage inside to work with. He can throw to that space. He cuts this thing loose. Odell kind of pirouettes back, comes back and finds the football and makes the catch, move the chains. And then the very next play, they get 17 yards from Malik Washington to get into field goal range and essentially end the game in that respect. So let's go ahead and take a look at the end zone angle right here real quick. You'll see the quick set from Teron Armstead, get some width out here on Jared Verse. He winds up slanting inside. It creates this escape hatch for Tua Tagovailoa. gets to that spot, finds his receiver, throws on the move, on the money, big-time conversion. Tua, this Dolphins offense has found their rhythm. Third downs have been very successful for this offense since he came back into the lineup, and it has this Dolphins offense rolling at 26 points per game since Tua came back into the fold. So the Raiders are in town. You know what that means. I have to bring in my friend today on the podcast, Ted Nguyen from The Athletic. He joins us here from the Baptist Health Studios on Dolphins HQ, as well as the Draft Time podcast. You can find him on the Just Win podcast, as well as all of his written content on theathletic.com. Ted Nguyen, welcome back in, Ted, man. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
We're happy to have you. It's Dolphins and Raiders week, which means you're here with us on the show as we do, I think, for the last 5 or 6 years now. I want to talk about the Dolphins defense because we got one of the many offshoots of the Mike Macdonald defensive tree from Baltimore last year, and reviews are in so far, and we love Anthony Weaver, man. What have you noticed about his defense and how they've been able to do a lot about what you talked about with Patrick Graham, where he can consistently change the picture post-snap with different checks and disguises?
Yeah, I've watched the TV copy of the game. I didn't really get a chance to break down Anthony Weaver's defense, especially the Rams, yet. I did see a few plays, but I think the main thing with the McDonald defense is it does take a little bit of time to really learn. But once you learn it, then you could take off, because initially you have to learn. The big thing with this defense is you have to learn everybody else's jobs. So you're not just learning your job; you're learning what this guy does, because they want to be able to just move guys around. They want to be able to run a ton of different things from the same front. So once you get that down and you understand each concept as a whole, then you can really start mixing and matching and playing fast. And I think that's where the point the Dolphins are arriving at. McDonald's defense really struggled when he first got to Baltimore, but then I think after their bye week, that's when they started taking off. And I think we're seeing a similar thing in Miami, where the defense is really starting to learn the system and learning how to mix and match. And then now you can really confuse quarterbacks and really play those games.
How about the other side of the ball here, Ted? Because the Raiders, I'm curious how they want to attack Tua, because they had one of the better showings in terms of holding Miami last year when they were going, for 30 points every week. They held them to just 20 points in that game. And, we see teams commit to keeping the roof on the defense against Miami, even more so than ever before. What do you think that Patrick Graham has cooked up in this game for an ascending Dolphins offense?
Yeah, I think we'll see some similar themes from the Rams game. When I talked to Patrick Graham about last year's game, he talked a lot about emphasizing stopping the outside runs, forcing them to be an inside run team, and changing the pictures in different ways against Tua. For example, this is very nuanced, but when you rotate the safety downs in a box, usually it's a weak side rotation, but they would switch it up on Tua and go strong side rotation. And, just having him pause for that extra little half a second so he doesn't get that timing pass down worked for them. So I think we'll see some of that. The Rams did a pretty good job. I think they played a lot of just regular cover too, but those linebackers were just inside the hash marks and just making sure not to give up those inside breaking routes and forcing him to throw outside. And Tua actually did a really good job of extending plays and getting the secondary to break down a little bit, which we haven't seen him do a lot of, but he did a great job of it against the Rams. So I think we'll see a lot of that. I think we'll see a lot of games up front. I think the weakness of this Dolphins offensive line is just the interior and some of the communication with the interior, and Max Crosby's so good on those stunts. So I think we'll see a lot of games late in those later passing downs. And yeah, I think we'll see a lot of wide nines. Maybe we'll see linebackers walked up to the edge. They do that a lot with Divine Diablo, the inside linebacker, where they'll have the line shift one way and they'll have Diablo play up on the line in a 2-point stance. And against this run game, I think we'll see a lot of that.
Ted, you're the best man. You said it all. Thank you for your time today, and we'll see you out here on Sunday.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
That wraps up the speedy edition of Dolphins HQ Extra. For more from me, check out the Draft Time podcast, where I drop 5 episodes every single week throughout the 2024 season. Also, check out my guys Seth Levitt, OJ McDuffie on the Fish Tank podcast. New shows every single Tuesday from the boys. Subscribe to the Dolphins YouTube channel for media availabilities, Coach McDaniel breakdowns, game speed recaps, and more highlights from your favorite Miami Dolphins. Enjoy an exciting Week 11 across the National Football League, and we'll see you next week.